All right, we're past the UFC Nashville card, and it's time to review. Okay, so couple notes before I kick really off here. One, I'm in considerable pain. um, that's why this is being published so late. Not that it particularly matters. I imagine people watch. I have seen the analytics, and very few people watch this right when it comes out. But yeah, so I might be a little bit grumpy. Anyways, number two, the Jake Paul versus Diaz fight. No, I'm not going to recap it. Really, I did see it. I thought Paul won. I thought it wasn't. It wasn't like ridiculously bad or anything, but I like the problem with the Jake Paul experiment in a nutshell is that I know it's not going to be super high level boxing. So from that standpoint, it has no appeal. And I'm not a Jake Paul fan. So there has no appeal from that end. And I'm not a fan of really the guys he's fighting. Because, he fought Ben Askren. Not a fan of Ben Askren. He fought Tyron Woodley. Not a fan of Tyron Woodley. He fought Nate Diaz. Not a fan of Nate Diaz. I am a fan of Anderson Silva. But the fact that Anderson Silva is like still doing, what he's doing in his 40s is kind of sad. And not a fan of Tyron Fury. So like at no point have I been emotionally invested in any of these Jake Paul fights. So there's your problem. Not emotionally invested, not thrilled by the sporting aspect of it. Moving on. Okay, so UFC Fight Night from Nashville. Here we go. Cory Sandhagen, Rob Font. I'm going to do something unusual here. I am actually going to sort of defend the Boo Birds on this fight because they were booing hard. They were booing very, very hard because this fight was a bunch of takedowns for Cory Sandhagen in top control and Rob Font not being able to get up. Like that was what the fight was. I was looking forward to a striking affair. The fans, I'm sure, were as well. And the one thing I'm going to defend here is that normally I find it very, very, very silly to boo wrestling because when it's booed, it's almost always like somebody who is a wrestler. It's kind of like people would like boo John Fitch back in the day. I'm like, why did you pay for this? Like, why did you go here live to see John Fitch fight and expect anything but John Fitch doing John Fitch things? In this case, I can realistically get why fans expected like a knockdown, drag out war. This is no shade to Cory Sandhagen. Number one, your job is to win the fight, and he did that. He did his job. Also, apparently hurt his tricep early in the fight. Apparently he's had some elbow issues in camp. I get it. I get not wanting to strike with that kind of circumstances, and particularly that Font could not get back up. So yeah, no, I don't blame Sandhagen, but like I understand the fan reaction. The fight is not really worth going back and seeing, which is a shame because Sandhagen usually is, Font usually is. But if you're going to blame someone, I guess blame Font for, I don't know, just not having some basic get up game, which is a bit weird because I always thought Font was like at least reasonably capable as a grappler and wrestler. I thought he was the standard New England cartel fighter, like Calvin Kattar, where it's like, okay, yeah, you can be taken down by like good wrestlers. You can be controlled. You can be out grappled. You're not fantastic, but you're like basically capable. And that did make this fight a little bit sad. It was fascinating to see Sandhagen, show previously undiscovered like elements to his game, honestly. Not that we haven't seen him take someone down before. We've seen him try that. It was a big part of the Yadong Song fight as a rhythm breaker to kind of short circuit what Song was doing. I think we saw him take down Chito Vera a little bit. I didn't watch the Chito Vera fight, I'll be honest. Mostly because like Chito Vera is just like not really applicable to Rob Font. But I saw it. I believe I recall takedowns. I believe I do. You can tell me I'm wrong if you want. So I knew he could wrestle, but like this was this was interesting to see him just make it the A game, make it the primary mode of attack. And that's interesting. I don't know if that's, long-term applicable, because at the top of the division, you've got guys like Merab Dvalishvili. One would think that this is not the game plan. You've got guys like Aljamain Sterling, although he may be going up. We'll talk about that in a moment. One would think that would not work against him. You've got guys like Umar Nurmagomedov coming up. Probably will not work against him, although he's probably working on he's probably heavily working on his wrestling for that Nurmagomedov fight. And then you got like Henry Cejudo, if he's sticking around. Like, it's an interesting idea if he matches up with Sean O'Malley. But that's kind of it. Speaking of which, next opponent for Sandhagen, I've got Sean O'Malley as my most interesting fight. But I understand that the UFC probably is not going to push this performance. They're going to cool down on Sandhagen for now. And they're probably going to book him against Umar Nurmagomedov again, which I don't have a problem with. I honestly don't. But I don't know. I would prefer the O'Malley fight. In theory, not for the title, because, like, spoiler, I have Aljamain winning and then going up to 145. That's my thoughts. And then you'll have a title fight between Merab and probably like Cejudo or something. I don't know. So yeah, I would do the O'Malley. I would do O'Malley if he loses. Because if O'Malley wins, it's O'Malley versus Dvalishvili. Nice and easy. And for Rob Font, I have a booking against Said Nurmagomedov as a fun fight to try to continue the build of Said. Jessica Andrade, Tatiana Suarez. I liked the performance from Suarez more or less. She came out. She was able to take down Andrade without super issue. She was able to bank some control time. She was able to finish her with a guillotine. She looked fine on the feet. Like her striking is still basic, not super threatening or whatever. But she is a 5'5" strawweight, which is quite large, quite tall for the division. And she backs it up with a lot of power. So is she back to being what she was 4 years ago? It still doesn't feel like it. The lethality, the dominance, it doesn't feel like it's there. But she did just beat Jessica Andrade really easily. But Andrade is, I think, unquestionably on the downturn. It's a shame because she's only in her early 30s. But I don't know. I think we've seen the best of her. And I always did think that her downfall would be kind of like this because so much of her game was inefficient, reckless technique, and raw physicality. And when that physicality starts to go away, I want to be clear here, she's still a beast, but I don't think she's quite the beast she was. If there's a 10-point beast scale, Jessica Andrade was a 10, and it's now something like, I don't know, a 9.5. And when everything you do is so based on that beast element, that raw physicality, that power, that destruction, that destroy physical tools, the game kind of goes really, really downhill. I've said this about other fighters, like Tyron Woodley was a great example. Once his speed goes, everything's going to kind of fall apart. It did. And there are others. Andrade is a bit of a weird one because at least hers was things that tend to go away a little bit more incrementally, like strength and power. And I assume she still has cardio, which was always the amazing thing about her, is that she could go balls to the walls for 15, 25 minutes. What next? I've got Suarez versus Yan or Yan Janan in a title eliminator. And I don't really know what to do with Jessica Andrade. I put Macy Barber in here because why not? We're doing the Beast Tour. Macy Barber is an incredible bully physical talent. Why not? Why not make that happen? Dustin Jacoby nuked Kenny Njoku with the first solid strike of the fight. That was that was a bit weird. Also, best wishes to Suarez's teammate who is battling cancer. That's always going to be very, very, very touching stuff. So I am for that post fight, even though like she's kind of a charisma vacuum. Jacoby went out there, nuked Kennedy. It's kind of a shame because like this was supposed to be, in my opinion, like at least a learning experience, a build for Kennedy, and I don't think it really is. I mean, there's some footage here. There's him versus a actually pretty good striker. What happens? There's things to learn about. There's definitely a message that learning has to be done. But if he was going to lose this fight, I just would have preferred it to be longer, I guess, and more informative. And it wasn't really. Still cool for Jacoby to get a finish. Nice to see. I like Dustin Jacoby. I've got him against like Alonzo Menefield next because Menefield is kind of this. The problem is we've seen Jacoby move up into the actual meat of the division, the borderline contender part, and it doesn't go well. And I don't think it's changed. There's nothing about him that has changed, in my opinion, on that regard. I know he wants to go up, obviously. He called out Volkan Oezdemir. I'm game for that fight. That's perfectly fine. I would love that fight, but I've got like Menefield as a more likely answer. For Kennedy Nzechukwu, I've got Felipe Lins, who's just kind of like a pressure guy who hits hard, has reasonable athleticism. What do you do with that when you probably can't just instantly bully him in the clinch? Like, what happens? Moving on down. Gavin Tucker versus Diego Lopez. This was fun. Tucker shot for a takedown early, got caught in like a flying triangle, and then got triangle armbar kind of to doom, and eventually tapped out. Cool fight, awesome fight. A little bit of like weird Twitter deal here. After the fight, someone, I don't know, I responded to a tweet about Lopez, about why is he so popular and so on, and I'm like, he's a madman, he's super aggressive, super exciting, joy to watch, probably gonna get smashed at some point. And someone came back to me with like the Movsar Evelev didn't smash him line, and I'm like, fair, but like here's the thing, Evelev, short notice, is a kind of guy who likes to really get deep into the analytics of the fight. 2, not really a finisher. Like, you look at Movsar Evelev's record, you realize he's not finished anybody in the UFC. And, short notice. And also, the fact that Lopez has been smashed in his regional career. Like, he's been finished. He's been hurt. He's been put in trouble even in some of his wins. Like, he will, at some point, get smashed. But my God, am I going to enjoy every second of it? Because, like, dude is super entertaining. Super entertaining. I would love to see him fight Ryan Hall. It's not going to happen because Ryan Hall is Ryan Hall. And him and the UFC have a really weird relationship, plus he gets injured a lot. So, like, maybe Pat Sabatini? That'd be fun. That'd be fair. Also, like, it's a boring one, but, like, Damon Jackson fought earlier on the card. Like, that would also be an option. Gavin Tucker I've got against the winner of Fernando Padilla and Kyle Nelson. I do think Tucker at 37 years old is probably nearing the end of his, like, time in the spotlight, which is a shame. It was kind of wasted. But, still some fun fights there. Tanner Boser, Alexa Kamer. Kamer is bad. I said this in the prediction. There is a version of Alexa Kamer that is incredibly effective and just steamrolls Tanner Boser. That just applies his physicality, his actually pretty reasonable skill set, and just runs him over. But that he kind of looks aimless and not sure what to do. That was this fight. That was this fight. Tanner Boser was, doing a pretty good job of like being ahead at all range exchanges, smashing the elbow into the clinch really nicely. The elbow work was really, really nice by Tanner Boser. I want to make that clear. But at the same time, I think the commentary, maybe this was just a commentary thing, But the commentary was like talking about how Bowser, he's really looking for a finish here. Every time he gets Khamer hurt, he's looking for a finish. And it's like, okay, but every time he hurts him, he just smashes in the clinch. And that's not where he finishes people. So the clinching was very, very nice. But it does feel really like if Bowser could just maintain reach, maintain range, and just keep throwing boxing combinations at Khamer, he probably would have finished him. So like that's my only critique of the performance. I still don't know if I like 205 for Bowser. His advantages at heavyweight just aren't there, and he's fighting way better athletes. That Ion Kudalaba fight, I don't know. Khamer is not a terrible 205 for anyone out there and whooped him. But I don't know. I still have questions. I have doubts. I don't really have much else to say about that. I got like Bowser versus Ior Patara, who's a similar level guy who kind of knows what to do a little bit more. Like he's a step down from Khamer physically, but a step up in terms of, okay, this is what I am, like being a functional fighter. And I do think Khamer gets cut because I think this is probably the last fight on his contract. Could be wrong. Let me pull up his record real quick. Yeah, this was his fourth fight. Last I checked, the UFC tends to give 4-fight contracts off the Contender Series. He has beaten Justin Ledet, lost to William Knight, Nick Negamariano, and now Tanner Bowser. He is 6-3. That's probably actually just in general going to be hard to get booked against people from a commissional standpoint. And it might be best for him just to return to the regional scene because that's where he can try and figure out what he is. That's where he can figure out his identity as a fighter. Probably easier, I should say. Ignacio Bahamondes versus Ludovic Klein. Ludovic Klein continues to just like stun me. I will probably never pick this guy to fight. He's 5'7". The best part of his game is a range game that he shouldn't be able to employ. But damn if he didn't just like pants Bahamondes. Like really, just pantsed him. Just pantsed him. I have no idea how two judges gave Bahamondes a round. Was there a round where like at least he outlanded him by like significant margins or something? Where are you? Well, maybe. Looks like he only landed it by like 13 strikes. I don't know. Do you give him the second round? I don't know. He outlanded him in the second round 29-19. Apparently 6 strikes, 35-25 overall. But like it felt like a lot of empty volume. It felt like Klein was hitting him much, much harder. So I don't know. I guess that's the one. I've got Klein against Rafa Garcia in another fight that I'm probably going to pick him to lose. And Bahamondes versus like Jai Herbert. Because those are two guys who are like super tall and need to learn how to actually maintain reach. Please do that. There you go. They also both had fights with Ludovic Klein that they should have won and didn't. Ronnie Barcelos versus Kyler Phillips. I have no notes on this fight because I was talking with my dad on the phone during this fight and also the one before it, so excuse me, but I tried to keep up with it. It looked like Kyler Phillips outlanded him, outvolumed him, did his thing. Got taken down a bunch, but generally rejected the like top control aspects of Barcelos' game. Let's see here. Barcelos had three takedowns, one in each round. None of them exceeded a minute in top control. He had 54 seconds in the second round. He was outlanded in all 3 rounds. It should be mentioned, except for the third round. He outlanded 21-20 in that one. So probably give him that one, I guess. But right decision I think was made. It was a good fight. I just wish I could go deeper into it by taking notes. But I don't want to go back and watch the fight that I missed. For Phillips, I've got Ricky Simone, another guy who's like, are you a contender? Like, you could be. There have been, like, stunning performances by both men. There have also been stunningly bad performances by both men. Yeah, that sounds like a good fight. And Ronnie Barcelos versus Daniel Marcos. I remember I didn't have a good opponent for Marcos last time he fought, and this seems like the one. An old veteran dude who will go out there and try and put a power game on him and try to put a little pressure on him and be like a little more comfortable going forward than Davey Grant is, and we'll see what happens. Jeremiah Wells versus Carlston Harris. This is also a fight that I largely missed. Harris picked up the win by, I know it was a joke, Anaconda joke. There you go. Judging by the fact that there were 23 significant strikes landed in this entire fight, I don't think I want to go see it. Wells had 9 minutes and 26 seconds of top control. I imagine he did a lot of the things I thought he would do. He is kind of a reckless takedown guy. Boom, boom, boom. Got that done probably, and then just got tapped. So, hey, Carlston Harris is a tricky guy on the ground. Nothing really learned on that regard. Did the job. Still really tall. Still really athletic. Still really unstructured. I've got him against Chaos Williams because why not? And I've got Jeremiah Wells versus Trevin Giles. Billy Quarantillo, Damon Jackson. So much fun. So much fun. Jackson won the first round. I had Billy Q winning the second and the third. Essentially, this was the standard Billy Q fight. It took him a while to find his groove. He was working the body a lot in the clinch, working the body just in general. That is Billy Q. Billy working the body, Quarantillo. Damon Jackson couldn't keep up with the pace, basically, and just got kind of outpaced down the stretch. It was super fun between two guys that I have no doubts in my mind will never really contend for a title or anything, but they are super fun action fighters. I am always here for them. There you go. For next fights, I've been asking for Billy Quarantillo versus Bill Algeo for so long. Please make the fight happen. They did book it. In fairness, they did book it. It just fell apart. And for Jackson, I've got David Onama, because David Onama is a guy with all the physical talent in the world and like a pretty good understanding of technical striking and grappling and wrestling. He really could be that title contender, but he struggles to really enforce his will on the fight and remember what he's doing. And Damon Jackson's going to bring the pressure, bring the violence, bring the chaos to him. And how does he respond to that? That'll be phenomenal. I love that. UFC, make me matchmaker. Jake Hadley, Cody Durden. This was also super fun. This is the first fight I got to turn into live. Hadley, had moments, obviously. Like, I did have him losing all 3 rounds, but he did have a really, really good armbar there at the end of the second round. It was very, very good. Dropping some elbows, doing some things. Really good grappler. Looks fast on the feet too. Like he looked slick and smooth and fast early on, and then it fell apart. Durden just was able to pressure him, and if you're going to engage in a wrestle boxer game with an American wrestler, that's a tough fight to win. I don't want to make jokes about UK wrestling because, to be clear, it's gotten a lot better. Like the jokes are outdated, but if you're going to play the American game with it, if you're going to play a wrestle boxer game with a guy who's been wrestling his whole life, it's a tough one. Durden is still exceptionally reckless and whatever, but hey, it's fun. He had a weird post-fight interview with the. I get maybe it was supposed to be inspiring. I mean, at least it was better than his xenophobic one that he had a while ago in the UFC. He's already booked against Bruno Silva, apparently, so my job is done. There you go. For Hadley, I've got CJ Vergara, because CJ Vergara is the same kind of matchup. Wrestle boxer, fairly bare bones, aggressive, whatever, and lesser than Cody Durden. Like, just kind of in every way. I think Vergara is a lesser athlete than Durden. I think he's a lesser wrestler than Durden. I think he's a cleaner boxer, but it wasn't really... And the boxing did give Hadley some problems. But it just feels like the appropriate option to try to get Hadley back on track. Didn't see Sean Woodson versus Dennis Buzukja. I have no real interest in going back to watch it just by looking at the stats, honestly, 71 to 42 significant strikes landed, 4 for 5 on takedowns. He did Sean Woodson things. That appears to be the answer to the question. Sean Woodson is remarkably high output for a guy who cuts as much weight as he does and is as tall as he is and looks as unhealthy as he is. Seriously, dude needs to go up to lightweight. I actively dislike watching Sean Woodson fights because it looks like horror, like pornography. it's like I don't know. That is weight cutting horror right there. Anyways, I have no doubt that he got the win and did his thing. Like I said, Denis Buzukja is fine. He's a perfectly fine fighter. I have no problem with him being in the UFC, but like on short notice, he didn't offer like a major X factor. And I figured Woodson would win by decision, and he did. Next opponents, Woodson I got against Melsik Bagdasaryan because they're two dudes who like to fight at range, and I would love to see them do that. Excuse me. Yesy. And for Buzukja, I got him against some kind of Dana White Contender Series fodder. Again, it's not that he's bad. It's just that, he's 25 years old and he's got a ways to go to like improve and like become better. So here's hoping he does. Cheers. And Asa Almabayev, I missed this fight, but I did go back and see it because cool. Almabayev made me look silly here because I was like, I don't know if he has the physicality to do what he does on the regional scene to a guy in the UFC. Yup, he does. He does. He really does. Rina Kachuk in the second round. He does his thing. His takedowns look really good. Grappling looks really good. Back take game looks really good. This guy's a problem. I'll probably be picking him in his next fight, I imagine. And I have, unless the fight that I have penciled in here actually happens, because I have him against Alan Nascimento, because yes. For Ode Osborne, I have Joshua Van, who is kind of in that similar area to Almabayev, where he had like in his case, he had a really, really solid late notice debut. But I still have questions about his physicality. I have questions that he scales up into the UFC. And Ode Osborne does seem like the guy to put those guys against. Not too hard, not too complex, relatively simple, but challenging. Although Almabayev did just run him over, so maybe not. maybe I'm using him. Maybe I'm using him for a role that he's actually not equipped to do. Anyways, that was the fight card. It was a good fight card. Main event sucked the life out of it a little bit, but hey, it happens. And you know what? And I always say this when like a fight card over delivers. The matchmakers went out there and put together a card and it over delivers. That's not necessarily a credit to them. Same thing here. Like, some fights under delivered a little bit, but some fights were really, really good. And on paper, they were really good and they delivered. And I'm always here for a Billy Q war. So there you go. I don't have anything else to say. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time.